this panther was up in the tree getting ready to attack me, when all of a sudden Uncle Ned came out of the woods and shot him with one of his arrows. The other three looked at one another, startled. "Slow down, Amanda," her mother told her. "You're out of breath." "Oh, and there was this Indian boy standing there in the woods, but he wouldn't help me at all. And he saw the panther, too," she continued. "He just turned around and walked away, leaving me there helpless and alone." Uncle John lifted a rifle from the wagon and started down the hill. "Let me go see what Uncle Ned is doing. He might need some help." "Guess I'll go too," called Joe, hurrying after John. "Amanda, dear, please don't ever go off alone like that again," her mother pleaded. "Something awful could have happened to you." "I'm sorry, Mother," Mandie said soberly, putting her arm around her mother's waist. "But it was so hot I just had to wash my feet to cool off a little. It has been such a long journey all the way from Franklin. Wonder how much farther we have to go." I know," her mother replied, stroking the blonde curls. "We are all hot and tired. It shouldn't be much farther. Uncle Ned will know." When the men came up the hill with Joe, Mandie ran to meet them. She hugged the old Indian. "You always come just in time, Uncle Ned." "I promised Jim Shaw I see after Papoose when he go to Happy Hunting Ground," the old Indian reminded her. "I know, Uncle Ned, but now that I have found my real mother and she has married my Uncle John, you don't have to worry about me," the girl replied. "May be fine, but I promise. I keep promise. Even when Papoose get to be squaw and marry Joe here, I keep promise," he told her, with a twinkle in his eyes. Joe blushed and kicked at the stones under his feet. He intended to marry Mandie when they grew up, but he certainly didn't want people talking about it. He stole a quick glance at Mandie. She was looking at him. "I'm glad, Uncle Ned. If you had not come along when you did, I don't know what might have happened to me." "I probably wouldn't be here to tell about it," Mandie admitted. "Did you see that Indian boy in the woods there? He just looked at me, and then at the panther, and walked away." The old man turned quickly toward her, his eyes squinting. "I no see Indian boy. Where he go?" "I don't know. He just disappeared into the woods," she replied. The old man tightened his lips and murmured, "All right, let's get going," Uncle John said, changing the mood. "We want to get to Uncle Ned's house before sundown." The road they traveled on ran parallel to the Tuckasegee River for many miles. After a while, Uncle John turned the wagon onto an old wooden bridge and crossed to the other side, traveling upward along the banks of Deep Creek. "Oh, how I'd love to get into that water," Mandie exclaimed as she peered at its clear, shallow stillness. Joe leaned out to look. "There's enough rocks to walk plumb through it." "Won't be long now," Uncle John called back to them from his seat at the front. And it wasn't long before cornfields started showing up along the way. Here and there tobacco was growing. At one place a hog ran grunting across the road in front of the wagon, causing the horses to buck and snort. There was an odor of food cooking, and as they came around a sharp bend in the road, a settlement of log cabins came into view. Mandie and Joe became excited. "Looks like we're here," exclaimed Joe. "I can't wait to meet all my kin people," Mandie cried. "Just better not be any boys among them casting their eyes on you," Joe warned. Mandie's mouth dropped. "I do believe you have a jealous streak in you, Joe Woodard." "Remember, you promised. I get your father's house back from that woman he was married to, and you'll marry me," Joe reminded her. "Oh, Joe, it'll be years and years before you'll be old enough," Mandie replied. "Not so long. I'm past 13 already." They were slowing down in front of the largest cabin in the group. There was a barn at the rear, and horses could be seen behind a split-rail fence. The house looked very similar to the one in which Mandie had lived with her father. It was made of logs chinked together, with a huge rock chimney at one end. The door stood open, and they could smell the strong odor of food cooking. "This is where Uncle Ned lives," Uncle John called back to the two young ones. He stopped the wagon.